I don't want to talk about these books. Hey, hi, hello, how are you, Ipia? I'm talking about all of the books that I read in February. I've read way too many. I genuinely don't want to talk about them. I'm here and we're gonna do it. I read so many books in February, you guys. Like, I don't know what got into me. At a certain point, I was like, should I read a book every day? Like, I'm finishing them at a rapid pace. It's not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable. Let's talk about them. The first book that I finished in February was Harmony and Heartbreak. This is the first book in the Sweetheart series. This is a new middle grade magical series by Claire Can. This is her first middle grade. I loved this book. It's so sweet. It's about like magical matchmakers, and there are these two cousins who are getting like their little like matchmaker like initiation challenges, and they have to like matchmake people, and it's such a cute magic system. It's so Claire Can. Like, her books are just like so fucking sweet, so fucking, like, I didn't want to curse but I did. They're so sweet, so adorable. It's like the perfect balance of contemporary and magic, and it's just like adorably like cute. Like, it's not like, I don't know, I really like that it is middle grade, and having this like romantic element in it doesn't make it feel like older or like it's trying to handle like sex and love and stuff. It's just like, oh, like, I like him. And it's really cute. So I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Then I DNF'd a book. I DNF'd 2 books this month. I thought that was good because like my ratio is still like 1 per 10 books. So I think that's good. Unfortunately, I didn't even want to DNF this book. This is Sign Here. I really liked this book. I was listening to the audiobook. I DNF'd it at 48%. I don't know how often this has happened to me. I said in my review, I think this is like the first time I've ever like DNF'd a book, not because I didn't want to read it, but because I didn't feel like I could. There was some triggering content in here for me that got to be too much, and it wasn't what I was anticipating. I'm trying to even remember what it was, because there are only a couple of things that I get triggered at in general, or about reading about and or watching. Unfortunately for me, this had one of those things. So yes, I wasn't expecting that. I think it had something to do with self-harm, and it was just so unexpected. The tone of this book is so fun. Like, it is like these people in the underworld trying to like get all of their like all of the people from generations of a family to like sign over their lives to the devil, and like it's such a fun concept. The tone is really like fun and snarky and like satirical, but unfortunately like just like the stuff, it was a lot. So then I read Benito Sereno. You will see a common theme is that I do my readings for school. I do, it's crazy. I'm in 2 lit classes right now, and we read about a book a week in both of them. They're usually short books, or we'll read like a bunch of short stories, which I don't put in my Goodreads, but when we read a book, I put them in my Goodreads. I read Benito Sereno. This is my first Melville. I don't really think I like sea stories. I was very not interested in the seafaring ways and the lots of descriptions about the boat. Other than that, I read it. Anyway, didn't rate it, because I don't rate books I read for school typically. Then I was doing a vlog where I'm reading all the Bridgerton books. It's not done yet because I'm not done with the series. I read An Offer from a Gentleman. This is the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series. This is following Benedict and Sophie. It is like a Cinderella retelling. As I wrote in my review, kind of fun, but problematic. These books like can't seem to steer clear from like very like problematic themes that are so unnecessary and go unexplained and unquestioned in the world of the Bridgerton universe, where just men are just really taking advantage of girls being very aggressive and vile sometimes. So I give it 2.5 out of 5 stars because I like the universe that Julia Quinn has created. I like the family dynamics. I love the siblings hanging out and interacting, but like the romances are just like cute until they're not, and then they get bad. Then I read My Sister the Serial Killer. This was a book I read for my international reading blog. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a solid book. It wasn't super scary, but I did really enjoy the writing style, and that really stuck out to me, so I would definitely read more from this author. Next, I read Legends and Lattes. This is a like cozy fantasy, which is like a new and up-and-coming genre. I'm sure you've heard of this book because I feel like everyone has. It's about this like mystical creature who just like wants to start a coffee shop, and it's like unheard of. And I just love it. It's very sweet. Not a lot happens. Like each little discovery of like when they make cinnamon rolls, it's like, it's so lovely and so darling. And it was just like a nice thing to like, I listened to the audiobook. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. It was a nice thing to just like plug in and listen to. Really cozy, really good to like fall asleep to. I do put the sleep timer on, and it was really sweet and cozy. I gave it 3 stars. Solid. Then I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This was my book club book for my book club at school. I had like a lot of conflicting things going on with this book. I think it's very fun in a lot of ways, but it verged on like annoying and cringy towards the end of the book. It dipped into some tropes and some just like annoying things that I didn't appreciate. Mostly in the third act. I just felt like the first two acts were pretty good. Like, I mean, is it enemies to lovers? Absolutely not. Please stop telling me things that are called enemies to lovers where they are not enemy. Where they are not enemies. I don't want it. And it was cute. I thought the romance was cute. You know, I liked it. But I just think it had like a weird, like weirdly like cringy and annoying tone. And I don't love that. And why I think that YA sometimes converge on being like, an adult definitely wrote this and didn't really understand how teenagers talk and communicate and can be normal people in some cases. They definitely aren't. Like, they're definitely like underdeveloped people. Like, their brain's not fully developed 100%. There was a little bit of a disconnect there. So I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Manhattan Transfer. Again, I read this for class. It's like weirdly like vignette styles things of like a bunch of people in Manhattan who are just like sad and lonely. And I just wrote paper on it. Then I read Clotel. This is another book I read for class. Not about Clotel, as you would guess. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about these books. I read it for class and I don't have a lot to say about it. You know, if I have a lot to say about things I read for class, I will, but it doesn't mean they're bad books. It just means that like I was like studying it, so I wasn't like reading it for fun. Then I read a great book. I had a few 5 stars this month and like I just feel like I forgot about them. I read 7% of Rodevereaux. This is a debut. This is Ellen O. Clover's first book. And it was everything. It was everything I wanted. I got in a real mood for like YA contemporaries. I think because I was let down from Better Than the Movies because it had such like a good ride up until like the 3rd act that I was like, oh, I just want more. And this is about Rodevereaux, who makes this like her senior project. It's like creating this app based on the game MASH, you know, like mansion. I was gonna say attic. Mansion, apartment. Oh my god. Mansion, apartment, shack, house, which is like that game that we all played as children. And she made an app for it that was like 93% accurate. It could predict these things with 93% accuracy. And it was just for her senior project, right? What happened was she made the app alive and then it went viral. And, you know, it got bought by a company, like they started wanting to do their own things and they started wanting to market it as being 100% acceptable. And the only thing that she was like, I refuse to have us be using like the like match one for it, like the romantic partner match, because like I don't want to do that. And they're like, no, you're actually going to, and you're gonna be like our spokesperson, like to show that this is real, and you're gonna have to like date your match. And so she's 18, which is why this is like, I feel like it would be way more sus if like they were not adults, but like she signed off, I guess. Whether or not 18-year-olds are adults, that's up to debate. But of course her match according to the science is this guy who she used to be best friends with, and they are not anymore. And so they have to like kind of pretend fake date. They have to fake date, and it's great. It's got fake dating. It's got my favorite trope, which is friends to enemies to friends to lovers. My new favorite trope, and it's so sweet. New, like it's such a fun, fresh new idea, which I always love seeing, like in different contexts for these types of like to set these tropes into place. Ro herself was like lovely and flawed and just like felt really real. I loved her relationship. I loved the romance in here. It was fantastic. I loved the family dynamics. I loved this book. This is how to do it, man. Then I read The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. I read her latest book in December, I guess, which is like a Christmas romance, and didn't love it. So I was quite nervous for this, and I was like, if I don't pick this up in February, I don't think I'm gonna pick it up because I haven't heard great things about it. I read this, and I read some of it on audio, some of it I physically read when I started doing sprints. I love doing sprints on my channel. If you have watched them, if you have tuned in live, I do them on like the end of the week usually. And this is about a guy who's like the bachelor and then like the producer of the show, and they fall in love. Great. It feels very like Red, White, and Royal Blue to me. Like it's definitely overwritten. There's a lot that I don't really care about. I did really appreciate the representation. We have a demisexual main character. We have like anxiety representation, OCD representation. I really like it for those things. I wasn't just invested in the romance at all. I didn't really feel like I loved these two people, or like I felt like these two people were in love, you know what I mean? So I gave it 3 stars. I don't think this author is gonna be for me, unfortunately, although I do really love the representation. These just aren't my favorite stories. Then I read another book for a class. It is called Industrial Park. Moving on. Then I read the 4th book in the Bridgerton series, and that is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. This is Penelope and Colin's romance, which is going to be season 3 of Bridgerton, in case you were wondering. I also gave this 3 stars. I think I liked it more because I like Penelope and Colin, and I like that they were friends, and I like friends to lovers in general. I don't like that a lot of these books are following the same like tropes, that they're oftentimes, what is it called? Not merit of convenience. What is the word where it's like we were caught doing naughty things. And then we had to get married really quickly so they wouldn't know. What's that called? Anyway, it's got that, which also the first 2 books have. So I was like, Julia Quinn, we've done this before. But what do I love about it? Consistently, I love Lady Danbury. Consistently, I love Violet Bridgerton. I love Hyacinth. Like, I like those parts of it. I don't necessarily care about Lady Whistledown. However, there is something in this book where I'm like, maybe I underestimated how much I liked Lady Whistledown. This just also had the trope or the commonality of all of these books where something happens and the male love interest just gets absurdly angry. Like throwing things at the female character angry, or like doing very aggressive, very mean, loud things. And I don't like it. I don't think it's hot. I also am like, why are all of these girls virgins? And like, is this a fetish? Like, I don't get it. It's weird. I don't know. Then, again, on my contemporary YA kick, I read She Drives Me Crazy. Now I'm so glad I read this book because I think I've seen it like on one person's Instagram and I was like, TBR. This is about another... Guys, it's another fake dating. I didn't even know I liked fake dating this much. This is crazy. So we have kind of the star player of the basketball team and the like star cheerleader. And they don't really like each other just because like one is popular, one is not really, because like no one really cares about the girls basketball team, like RIP. This is a sapphic romance. Did I say that? I don't know. And basically the basketball player is like backing up her car and she like literally like hits the other girl's car. And so they have to like drive each other. One of them has to drive the other to school. And so they have to spend more time together and they have to like cover up for why they're spending time together. And also this is a Can't Buy Me Love retelling. And if you know anything about me, you know I love 80s rom-coms. Can't Buy Me Love is one of my favorites. So Can't Buy Me Love, the premise is like nerdy guy pays the like rich popular girl to date him. Fake dating, money, got it, exchange. And so our like basketball player kind of like not popular girl is like, hey, I'll give you money because like you have to like pay off this car that you, because you rammed your car into me. And like, you know, I'll lend you the money if you date me because I want to get back at my horrible ex who like moved to another school and like sucks and is already like dating, hooking up with a bunch of girls. So they fake date and it's Can't Buy Me Love and it's great. It's great. I loved it. I said, that's how it's done. That is how it's done. It was so good. It was like, again, it had this perfect balance of being like true to like teenagerhood and like adolescence and like being stupid while also being like really sweet and heartwarming, and like these people had brains. Like, it was crazy and they didn't do anything really silly and stupid. Third act breakup wasn't annoying. Third act breakup in quotes, not like an act. Anyway, also I love books where the main character was previously in a toxic relationship. I love that shit because it's beautiful. All I want to see are our characters coming out of a toxic relationship and like having to learn again what love is such an important message, especially for like young adults who like might have been in a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship or whatever it is, and like they think that's what love is and they think that's what a relationship is, and it's like, no. And like I thought this did such a good job of like that, and it's one of my favorite things to see. It's like a very hyper specific thing, but it is one of my favorite things, and it was just so good. Like Can't Buy Me Love, sapphic, like sports, it was a slide. Then I read Exit West again for my international reads video. Speculative story about a couple exiting west from Pakistan to, where did they go? Through like these magical doors that help them escape. And I liked it. There were parts that I liked and parts that I didn't. I think it's told in a very interesting way, especially in the way that it deals with time. On any given page, there's like lots of paragraph breaks, and like we might be skipping like a matter of days or like a matter of months. Like, so I think that's interesting. It just like reminded me a lot of a book that I didn't entirely like, which is The Namesake. And it's not because of the characters. I think the characters are some of the strongest things, but it's just because like of how it was written. And I just don't like cheating. That's another issue I have with it. But I don't think it was a bad book. I think it was fine. It was 3 stars. Then I read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This is a book I read for the Smut Salon book club, which is Katie Coulson's book club, and I actually co-hosted the live show. If you're on her Patreon, you can watch it right now. Anyway, I tabbed the crap out of this. I'm now very into these like very aesthetic tabs. Just a little thought I would mention. I did a whole reading vlog for this. I did that live show, so I'm not gonna talk too much about it. But I did really enjoy this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think it had such great representation for bipolar disorder and for OCD. I think that it had a lot of elements that I time and time again like in stories like this that are like two very prominent, very complex, like central main characters, and like just kind of diving into the intricacies of their relationship and how that works is just like something I find really interesting. So I really like that about it. The only thing I was not unsure about, but it wasn't my favorite, was the way that this is told. The narrative is very interesting. Like this plays around with form a lot. It has kind of lots of imagined scenes and then also like interesting interjections of different narrations. And yeah, and I think that in general, this like does add to like the greater themes of the story and the overall like narrative it's trying to convey. They just weren't my favorite to read about. Like they weren't like a very enjoyable read for me because I found them to be kind of confusing and convoluted. Didn't make me enjoy the like what I was there for, which was this relationship and these two characters. They didn't make me enjoy that more. So, and then I read Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I feel like I can pretty safely say that Frederick Bachman is one of my favorite authors. I read Beartown. I loved this book. I loved it so much. It is a heartbreaking read. It is so sad. I said this in my video too. I read this for my International Reads video. I think that's something Frederick Bachman is really good at, are characters. Are like distinguishing his characters. He has a big cast of characters in many of his books, and being able to distinguish the different voices, understanding them all very well as individuals and also how they're connected, he does like an incredible job of. And I also think that like with the tone of this book and the subject matter, I guess, this is about a girl who was sexually assaulted by someone on the hockey team, and this town is a hockey town. Like it's kind of all they have going for them, and her trauma essentially becomes a point of sports politics and debate, and it's like up for debate. Obviously that topic is heavy and intense and hard to read, but I think that Frederick Bachman wrote the story and the tone of this book in a way that it didn't make it feel like a burden to read. It didn't feel like such a like something that would bring you down every time you picked it up. Like I can't even quite explain it, but that's just how it felt and it feels. And I think that's why I'm pretty sure I read this in like a day or two, because I just had such compassion for these characters. They were so beautiful and so heartbreaking. I mean, what a story. And I cried a lot reading it, but I never felt like it was too much to read, and it wasn't, you know, like triggering, or like, I just feel like he just handled it so well, and it was beautiful. And I have taken out holds on the next two books in the series from my library, so hopefully I will get them soon because I love this book. Then I read Pudd'nhead Wilson. This is my second Mark Twain book. Shout out to Mark Twain. This is about a guy whose name isn't Pudd'nhead Wilson, but it's also like not really about him. So there's that. It's very Mark Twain. It's a novella. You can read it if you want, if you're in a Mark Twain mood, I guess. Then I read To Sir Philip with Love. This is Eloise Bridgerton's love story with Sir Philip. Now, Sir Philip was in some previous book because his wife is like a cousin of the Bridgertons in the book series, in the TV show series. It's of Penelope, but that's besides the point. And he has recently been widowed. He's a widower. Is that the right word? And he starts having like this correspondence with Eloise like for a year. And you kind of see that in the last book. And that's why it's called To Sir Philip with Love, because they're writing letters and that's how they fell in love. I think way more of this book should have been that because you only really get like, they were corresponding for a year and then she hopped on over and then she was there. This is another, wow, we're like unchaperoned, we have to now get married thing. This one, oh, Sir Philip, no. Sir Philip's a bad guy. He sucked. He might be the worst. Like, I don't know if he had a redeeming quality. And that hurts because Eloise is such a strong character and then he just whittled her down to nothing. And this bitch sucked. He's like literally like, okay, like his wife died like because she tried to take her own life. And he was just like, you know how hard it was for me that like my wife was so like depressed? It was so hard. Why doesn't anyone think about me? And like, Sir Philip, shut the fuck up. Like, what? And he was like, she didn't even want to like have sex. Like, it's crazy. Like, she would just lay there. And I'm like, dude. So, this book was a flop. Anyway, then I DNF'd another book, and that was I'm the Messenger by Marcus Zuzak. I don't think Marcus Zuzak is my author. I don't think he's the guy for me. This is I'm the Messenger. It's about a guy who gets these like cute little playing card messages, or not message, whatever. It's got like a date, kind of, maybe encoded, and like a place, and he's got to show up there and send some sort of message, and you got to figure out what that message is and like send a message. This is just super male gazy to me. It is just gross. Like, he becomes infatuated with like a 15-year-old girl. He like can't leave her alone after he like saves her, and like, whoo, this is, you're like a grown-ass man. And like just every female character is just like looking you up and down, like you serve no other greater purpose. And it's like, cool. I'm so glad like we women could be here as set dressing for you. Thank you so much. No, it wasn't good. DNF'd it. Fuck out. Fuck out. So I'm gonna end this here. We'll just get to the rest when we get to the rest. So I don't know how many, like I read like 20 books. There were 28 days in February. I need to stop reading this many books because how many did I like? 2. Like, no, okay. I don't know. I didn't like it. I read too many books. I didn't enjoy my time reading most of these books, except the ones I gave 5 stars, which I read in like a day. And then I was like, this was the best book I've ever read, and now I have to read a bunch of crap. It was bad. I am going into my no TBR era. I hope you'll join me for Mood to Read March. It'll be so much better. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!